Exhausted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship, left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
Welcome, everyone, to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here live on WYSL, so you can give us a call. I'll give you the 866 number today, 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009. You always call that old 585 number too, 585-346-3000 if you live in the Rochester area. Again, we're live until 1 p.m. Give us a call if you want to participate in the conversation or leave your comments online. We're streaming on A Free Solution, the Facebook page, A Free Solution, the YouTube channel, the Kevin Wilson Facebook page, and Kevin Wilson Twitter today. So any of those places, you leave your comments, I will see them here on the live broadcast. If they're good, I'll put them up on the video for those of you listening online, and I will read them out on the air. Shout out down the line to our friends over at WACK out in Newark and WENI, the Patriot, down in the southern tier as well. Appreciate y'all being here. We love you too. All right, so today, I've got all that out of the way. Today, we are talking about Rochester's Police Accountability Board. So just to give a little bit of a recap on what that is and what's going on here, the big news item is that the appeals court in New York said that the Police Accountability Board can't have disciplinary powers anymore. So that was an appeals case that came through on Friday. And again, just to recap what this is for those of you unfamiliar and why, and I'll put this in context, why this is important for the rest of you folks listening across New York State too. This isn't just a Rochester issue. I think this ruling is going to mean a lot for, other city governments. They're trying to do the same thing and how they structure their Police Accountability Board and how they make sure that they keep police accountable versus the rights of police officers and unions in those districts. So I think that this has a lot of impact. So just to go over what this is again, is the Rochester Police Accountability Board kind of came into existence. Well, there's been a sort of police accountability board for a little while. There's been a civilian review board is what they used to call it in Rochester. And that would just review cases, but have no disciplinary power. They could say, we think that X, Y, and Z happened, even though we're not able to subpoena things. We're not able to meter out any actual discipline in these cases. We think X, Y, and Z happened based on witness reviews and depending on how cooperative the police departments were, you might get some perspective from them too. So activists in Rochester back before the most recent Black Lives Matter stuff happened. So this is back in 2019, they got together, got a ballot initiative out and worked on creating a police accountability board that was, had a bit more teeth, right? So this police accountability board would be able to actually have subpoena power, would get a budget to be able to do investigations, and then would be able to actually dole out discipline by themselves to police officers if they found that they had violated someone's rights or had acted inappropriately in the line of duty. So that the idea was that this third party, this thing outside of the policing system, would be able to actually discipline police officers if they acted inappropriately, right? Now, obviously, the local union, the Locust Club, they ain't too happy about that, weren't too happy about it at the time. And the mayor actually opposed this plan, too. She wanted to have it so that the mayor, the executive branch of the city of Rochester, was the one doing the disciplining, right? Because the mayor appoints the police chief, and then the police chief is the one who can, actually discipline the officers if they act inappropriately. So that was the mayor's opposition. This is, again, Rochester politics, but the mayor thought they should be able to do that. There's a lawsuit at the time. They almost didn't get through, almost didn't even get on the ballot. But it did ultimately end up on the ballot in 2019, and it was very popular. Something like 75% of the vote was in favor of the Police Accountability Board. I voted for it too. I thought it was a good idea, and I still do. But they were able to get that through at the time. It was a ballot initiative, very popular, and a little bit later, maybe in the second segment of the show, I do want to talk about what does this ruling now mean for democracy in the city of Rochester, and should we subject this type of stuff to democratic votes like we did with the Police Accountability Board? I think that's worth discussing too. So I've kind of given you all the background on that. That's the history it was. The Locust Club, not too happy about that. They sued, and basically they say, well, this violates existing collective bargaining agreements between the local union, the Locust Club that represents the police officers in the area, and the city of Rochester. And police officers can't be punished without following the same structure of the collective bargaining agreement, right? And so they took that to court. They won. City council paid for an appeal, and now it looks like the Locust Club won their challenge there too. Well, the Locust Club police officers, etc., saying that it goes outside of the collective bargaining agreement that exists. And so the judge basically said that that local law number 2, I'll read the whole thing. It says, there's no dispute that the police discipline process created by local law number 2 was never subject to collective bargaining. In local law number 2 is the Police Accountability Board stuff, and it's irreconcilable with the police discipline process set forth in the governing collective bargaining agreement. And so this was Judge, let's see, what's this guy's name? So this was up in the appellate court. Supreme Court Judge Justice John Ark was the guy who wrote this ruling, right? And so this has gone through. This has been, it's a thing that had been going on the last couple of years. This law passed back in 2019, and basically, it's in violation of the Public Employees Fair Employment Act, also known as Taylor's Law. And so the interesting thing about this is that this law, Taylor's Law, gives a lot of protection to public employees, including police officers, and I'm not sure that I like that. I'm kind of opposed to public employee unions. And I know that's going to make a couple of you mad, but I don't really like when government employees get a lot of special protection and have the ability to, I'm going to be abrasive here, like loot more of the public treasury. It's unlike private sector unions, which are collectively bargaining for safety and an appropriate share of whatever profit is. There is no profit in government. The profit doesn't exist. It is only stuff that has been taken from us. So I'm not a huge fan of public sector unions. I get working together to advocate for your rights, but in the case of police unions in particular, I've got some issues with them, because what ends up happening in a lot of these cases is police unions, which have kind of been around about like 70 years or so, they are able to work together, get these special contracts, and then it becomes nearly impossible to fire actually bad officers. This isn't just about protecting the rights of police officers who have been falsely accused. It becomes nearly impossible to fire actually bad officers. So untangling the law, untangling the police union power, is a pretty critical component of get actually bad police officers accountable. And I'm not against all police. And I've said that before. I'm not against every cop. I think most police officers get in this for the right reasons. They want to help people. They want to keep their community safer. They want to do the right thing. And that's why they took this job. So if you're a police officer, I'm not attacking you, but when you have officers who abuse their power, who got into this profession for the wrong reasons, who do things to hurt people and erode community trust, there needs to be some way to keep those bad guys accountable. There needs to be some way to say, no more. This guy or girl this man or woman cannot be on the force anymore, because it makes the good police officers, it makes their job harder. And so when I look at the Police Accountability Board thing in Rochester, I think this is a mechanism for do that. This is a mechanism for being able to build public trust again. When something goes wrong, you don't have to think like, well, this shady backroom process that exists between the unions and the city means that bad cops get to keep doing what they're doing, and we never know what happens. There needs to be some transparency. There needs to be some third-party objective source for being able to look at these situations and say, did something bad happen? Do we need to discipline this officer in a certain way, or do we need to do something else? So, got a comment from Tim. Tim, of course, who is now our Thursday host. From radical liberal to radical conservative in one paragraph. I love the Libertarian Party. Yeah, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go all over the place with this. That's what the libertarian movement is sometimes. Sometimes we sound like radical conservatives and sometimes we sound like radical liberals. That's what freedom's all about. So we take the freedom and liberty loving parts of the not really progressive, the liberal and conservative movements. We bring those together. We advocate for freedom all the time. All right, so thanks for joining us here on The Free Solution. I think we're about out of time for this segment, but when we come back, I'll continue talking about the Police Accountability Board. I'll keep talking about how we hold officers accountable, maybe some better ways of doing that. If you want to participate in this discussion, give us a call, 866-552-1009 or 585-346-3000. We'll be back with more on The Free Solution in just a few minutes.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
The Finger Lakes Castle team is in its 7th decade of factory direct service to the service professional. From cleaning the ins and outs of your vehicle to keeping you on the road, Castle's got you covered. Castle makes streak-proof glass cleaner, FDA-registered sanitizers, and EPA-registered hospital-grade disinfectants. Remember, when you need to keep it clean, use what the pros use. Castle. Accept no substitutes.
Castle keeps it clean.
A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're live here until 1 p.m. on WYSL. So give us a call if you want to participate in the discussion. 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009. Call that number anywhere you want. Love to have you participate in this discussion. We're talking about the Rochester Police Accountability Board today, and in different ways that local governments, grassroots activists, etc., can hold police accountable when they do bad things. Again, I'll qualify the heck out of this to say that I don't think all cops are bad. I really don't. I've met quite a few who are passionate about their job and want to keep people safe. Now, I think it's worthy of criticism to say, if you are watching your colleagues do bad things and not speaking out and not stopping them, then yeah, man, you're gonna catch some flack for that, and that's understandable. And frankly, if you're watching someone do bad things and letting them get away with it, you deserve it. I get the terror. I don't get it. I'm not in it, but I understand that a lot of police officers are afraid to speak out when they see bad stuff happening because they could lose their jobs too. Their colleagues can turn on them. But we need to create a system that allows for a certain level of accountability when bad police officers do bad things. I don't think that's unreasonable. Rochester attempted to do that. Other cities are attempting to do that too. I think Albany has something similar. And the trick is going to be, how are they able to do that effectively and ensure that there is that something will happen if there's evidence to suggest that they violated someone's rights, because there's a lot of avenues that are cut off for accountability, right? Like a lot of times it's difficult, if not nearly impossible, to sue police officers who have done something wrong. Sometimes you'll get settlements out of courts, but it's difficult to do that because of qualified immunity. And just to do a review of qualified immunity, this is a Supreme Court created doctrine essentially that makes it nearly impossible to sue public employees who are doing stuff in the course of their jobs, even though the original law that this ruling was based off of was intended to do the opposite. It was to hold public employees accountable when they violate someone's rights on the job. Basically, what qualified immunity does now is that unless a public employee like a police officer or anyone else for that matter does something that violates someone's rights that has been specifically documented as a constitutional rights violation in the past, you cannot sue them. So, when I say specific, I mean like very specific, like the circumstances have to match exactly the same. If the police officer did something slightly different, even though it may have hurt someone, even though it may have maimed someone, even though it may have killed someone, then qualified immunity might apply, and they might be able to not sue this police officer for that case. So a lot of times, it's not as easy as you would think to take someone to civil court to sue someone for this situation. And that is for sure part of the solution that I think we need to look at for this. And I will take a comment from Will, who left a comment online. He says, "My dislike of the accountability board is that I'm afraid they will always find the officer guilty despite anything to the contrary." I mean, I don't think that's true. And in fact, this was a big point of contention when they were creating the board is how do you make sure that the voices of police officers are represented and that you aren't going to just have like this activist group that's going to say, yep, every complaint that comes to us is going to result in the police officer being found guilty of whatever he or she is accused of. I think like the worry is really the opposite, right? Right now there are far more complaints than there are actions. That was the case with the Civilian Review Board, and right now the process is so lopsided in the other direction where complaints go unaddressed. We may never know. And the good thing about the Police Accountability Board is that when you get these really serious complaints, when you have an actual investigative team, someone is not just internal affairs, but like someone else who's investigating, trying to get to the truth. The Police Accountability Board does not want to just, at least I would assume, we could get bad actors on there, right? There are people on there who are probably anti-police. But the point is that they have to follow a process too. They're supposed to be creating a disciplinary matrix for police officers, which may still happen despite these lawsuits. They still have investigation power. They still have subpoena power right now. They just don't have disciplinary power. That's the only thing holding up. Right now, by the way, the Rochester City Council has allocated $5 million to the Police Accountability Board. And normally I don't support spending money. Like I don't want to spend money on everything. But if you're going to have government agents who are able to use violence against people, I think it is worth, if you're going to have that, in general, right? If you're going to have those type of people employed by your government, it is worth spending the extra bit of money to make sure that if they use that violence inappropriately against the population, that there's a neutral forum for accountability to be investigated, for violations of rights to be investigated. Like, sustaining that level of government gets expensive. If you're going to concede that, we need these violent government agents to use violence to enforce laws, then you need to have the next step in that is, well, if they act inappropriately in doing so, how do we make sure that they don't continue being able to do their jobs and continue being able to hurt people when enforcing laws inappropriately? So that's my whole take on that. I don't like spending money, but like this, if you're going to have police, I think it's worth spending the extra money to do this thing. Now, so back to Will's concern, though, that the officer be found guilty. Well, the point of having the investigative team, in my opinion, is you're going to be able to go out and collect evidence. It's the same way, like, initially there was that weird opposition to body camera footage, right? So there's a bunch of people like, oh, well, like, what if this results in, the police, getting accused of doing a bunch of things, which I thought was bizarre. It's like, well, then don't do rights violating stuff on camera. But a lot of times, like, that body cam footage ends up showing that the officer acted appropriately, that whoever they were talking to, going after, that they needed to do what they needed to do to keep themselves or others safe. And we saw that with I'm kind of creeped out by how many cameras we got, but I think there's an incident that happened either late last week or over the weekend in Rochester where the Police Accountability Board ended up, I think, investigating this thing too. And if I got that wrong, someone leave a comment for me. But basically, there's kind of a viral story going around Rochester where police were like just beating up this guy in the street, right? Well, it turns out it looks like that guy was in fact holding a gun, and when they were kicking him, they were kicking a gun out of his hand. But, from one initial look, it looked like, oh, they're just beating this guy up. Like, that's, what like some of the cell phone camera footage showed. But yeah, after it was investigated, they found out, well, this guy had a gun. The police officer trying to get that gun out of his hand, which is a totally appropriate thing for police officers to do. And so having body cam footage, having like an actual investigation done, kind of makes the community feel better about police actions too. Because then it's not just the Locust Club or the police chief saying, yeah, trust us, we did the right thing. Here's this third-party group, the Police Accountability Board, saying, no, we did an investigation. We're neutral. You can trust us. Or neutral to, like, even people perceiving them as anti-cop. And if they say, well, actually, the police officer totally did the right thing here, then the community can be like, okay, cool. Instead, what ends up happening now is that these complaints happen. Nothing gets done about them. It goes into, a black box. You don't know what happens. And you're like, I heard that the police just beat up this random dude in the street. I don't know what happened here. I heard the police just shot and killed this guy who did nothing wrong. I heard that the police, like harassed and assaulted, so-and-so who lived in a neighborhood down the block from me. And then you never hear what happens. But if you have an objective source, like the Police Accountability Board, who's able to look at this stuff, investigate, and either determine a level of, responsibility for their actions, or saying that, oh, the police officers didn't do the right thing or did do the right thing here, that is better for community trust. Then people trust, like, when I make a complaint, it's actually going to get investigated, and you're not just shouting into the void, because that's where you get like real anti-police sentiment too, where you feel like if a bad cop does something to hurt you or one of your neighbors, that nothing will be done about it, then you're not going to call the police. You're not going to trust them. That's bad for our community. I think that this type of stuff helps. Okay, so when we come back, I'll continue talking about the Police Accountability Board. I want to get to what does this mean, not just for Rochester, but what does this mean for all of New York State, holding public employees accountable, all that stuff. So thanks again for listening. Give us a call if you want to participate, 866-552-1009. 866-552-1009. We'll be back with more from A Free Solution in just a few minutes.
Now it's Dan Bongino, weekday afternoons.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the Newstead NBC Weather Center for today. We'll see partly to mostly cloudy skies, mid-70s out there. Not a washout, but there will be a round of showers towards midday this afternoon. Maybe a rumble of thunder out there, so have that umbrella handy for a brief period today. For tonight, partly cloudy, chance of a shower. We'll drop into the 50s. Tuesday, we'll see clearing skies with temperatures in the 70s. I'm Rich Cadelia, WYSL.
At Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Anthony Drive off Route 96 in Victor, savings are warming up just like the weather. Like the 21 Jeep Gladiator Crew Cab 4x4 pickup, $279 a month for 42 months. A 21 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 is just $229 a month for 36 months. Employer's existing Grand Cherokee lease and be returning lessee. The 2020 Jeep Renegade Latitude 4x4 is only $199 a month for 36 months. Must be Conquest or returning lessee. The 21 Ram 1500 Classic Warlock Quad Cab 4x4 pickup is just $189 a month for 36 months. Must be Conquest or returning lessee. Use 3 Ram coupons while supply lasts. Jeep, America's iconic four-wheel drive brand. $2,500 cash or trade and other conditions apply. Get full details from the dealer. Equipment and MSRP vary by model. We're here to fully serve Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and throughout the Metro and Finger Lakes. Get out of the house and get that new ride you've been wanting. Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 6560 Anthony Drive in Victor.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Looking for something meaningful to do? As a Camp Good Days volunteer, you'll work with children and adults who will inspire you. Just listen to what one volunteer says about her experience.
I get a lot more out of camp than these kids. All I have to do is sit back and look around at the end of the week. The perseverance and just the strength that these children have. It's just such an inspiration in my life. I learned so much and it gives me strength. Really puts life into perspective for me.
Learn more about many volunteer opportunities at campgooddays.org.
Take it, Tony.
How's that, Zach?
Terrific, man. Hold on. Hello.
Honey, we need help. We have company coming and the kitchen sink is clogged.
Oh, man, now I really got the blues.
What's the skitty, Zach?
Train's backed up and we got company coming over. What am I going to do, brother?
Call Taylor. 500 Help. Their plumbing experts will fix things up and have you singing in no time.
500 Help. Now that's a hot number.
I think I'm really getting it, man.
Call Taylor. 500 Help.
Weber for life. The Q1200, the single burner, portable gas grill, whether you're at home or on the go. A 189 square inch cooking area that's large enough to grill an entire meal, retain high heat for photo-worthy sear marks, and hold heavy foods without warping. Functionality meets modern design in the Q1200. Unmatched engineering, unmatched cooking performance, unmatched style. Weber for life.
Smith Lumber and Hardware Center in Lakeville proudly features Weber, America's best-loved grill.
WYSL.
Hi, this is Joe Santani from the radio show Medicare U. Join me along with my partner Andrea Zaleski from T65 and Beyond every week as we explore the ins and outs of Medicare. We're your healthcare translators. If you're 65 or will be soon, you'll need this important Medicare information for the best coverage, best health, and best price. Medicare U, Tuesdays at 7:30 and Sundays at 1 on the WYSL stations.
WYSL.
Don't wait for the next power outage to get a Soul Sun Charger. It's the power bank perfected with 4 solar panels, enough to give it the near magical powers to charge itself. Soul Green Energies, where quality and cost meet. For similar features, you can pay twice as much, or you could pay half for something that'll make a good coaster when it runs out of juice. Sun Chargers are the kind of thing you'd rather have and not need than need and not have. Get yours today at bestsunchargers.com.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're live here on WYSL, which means that you, the listener, can give us a call, 585-346-3000, or our 800 number, 866-552-1009. Shout out on the line to our friends listening over at WACK out in York and WENI, the Patriot, down in the southern tier as well. Appreciate y'all being here. And our friends listening online on the Free Solution Facebook page, A Free Solution YouTube channel, or one of the Kevin Wilson page, wherever you're listening. Thank you for being here. One more follow-up comment from Will Phillips, who is commenting online too, says trust would be earned by the PAB, Police Accountability Board, if they can show fairness. I really like the body cams for this too. It proves trust, as well as bystanders videoing what they see. Yeah, all that's important. And it would be, I think the Police Accountability Board does need to prove itself. It needs to show that it's going to be fair. And it'll be interesting to see how they move forward with showing that with the more limited function that they have given the recent court ruling. So, I mean, it's not going away. We're still spending money on it. It is a government program after all. And it would be good to see, since they now have, hired staff plus like several appointed board members, how they end up doing moving forward. And if they also earn the community's trust. And again, it's kind of a two-way balance, right? They need to earn the community's trust in two ways. One, not over-disciplining officers, and two, not under-disciplining officers. They need to do both, and they need to make their reasons transparent. I think that is totally fair. And another comment from Mr. Thomas Daniel Queter, friend of the show. On the PAB, I believe it is important to ensure our officers act appropriately, as those who do not make good officers look bad. Again, absolutely agree with you, Mr. Queter. If you have unaccountable, bad officers on the force, it makes the good officers look bad in front of the community, and it makes it more difficult for them to do their job too. Again, I'm sympathetic to, because I know folks who are either police officers, who are family or police officers, who get bad accusations. I think the Police Accountability Board does a good thing for them too when they get accused of wrongdoing in a tough situation, because they often run into violent, unstable people in the process of doing their jobs. They run into people who are on the worst day of their life, and sometimes they need to take action to save themselves or to save others. And it is understandable that, they can get frustrated when those accusations are able to run wild, and there is a political response, either in the court system or in other disciplinary actions, which can come from, police chief, which police chiefs, by the way, in many cities, because they are still appointed by, like mayors and other folks, like they are a political position too. And that's something important to understand. And they are subject to political forces in a different way than a police accountability board might. But having that process, neutral, good due process, transparent, can be helpful in showing that those police officers who did act correctly shouldn't be punished too. It can be a two-way street. That's what it is. And it's going to be funny because it's going to frustrate some of the actually anti-police activists when they see police accountability boards like not disciplining officers or not saying that their actions warranted discipline, however it turns out to be. It's going to be a two-way street for this. You're going to get both. But I do think, situations like So not in Rochester, but we saw this happen last week where there was a police officer in Arkansas who was trying to pull a woman over for speeding, and she turned on her hazards, and it was not a safe place to pull over. There wasn't really a big shoulder. Put on her hazards and drove for a couple minutes till she could find a safe place to pull over, which is what you're supposed to do, right? And that's something for both the driver's protection and for the police officer's protection. If you pull over in a spot where the shoulder's not big enough or it's dangerous, and the police officer has to walk out into traffic, that's dangerous for them. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that for, yourself either, because you could get hit from behind when someone's not paying attention, especially on a dark night like this woman was. Now, the police officer thought that this woman wasn't pulling over quick enough. And this is a state trooper down in Arkansas. So he did a pit maneuver. He what's that? Pit stance or something. It's not an actual thing. It's a precision immobilization technique. Basically, they drive up, hit their back tires, and it can turn and disable a vehicle. In this case, the pregnant woman driving, the officer did a pit maneuver on her, flipped the vehicle. Could have killed her. Didn't, but could have killed her. And this police officer is still on the job just because this woman didn't pull over fast enough for him for a speeding violation. Like that type of stuff. That's the type of stuff that drives people nuts. That's the type of stuff that makes people think like, wow, this is crazy inappropriate. How can this officer not be disciplined? In those extreme cases, there ought to be some third-party group, like an accountability board, that looks at this and says, did the officer act appropriately in this situation? Did the officer, act in a way any reasonable person would? That's a question worth asking. And if the officer acted unreasonably in this situation, what's the recourse? They fired from their job? They reprimanded? Did they get a warning? Is there a recommendation for criminal charges if they hurt or kill someone? What's the recourse? And just because you are a police officer doesn't mean you should be able to break the law. You should hurt people without there being consequences. Again, recognizing that there are extreme situations where defense and violent actions are appropriate. If you do that in a non-life-threatening situation like that, the public wants you to be accountable. If you're gonna, I've said this. I try to be very careful when I look at these situations now. I'm not going to give you hot takes anymore. I've made some mistakes with hot takes. With that one guy who, turned out to be, I'm trying to remember his name, is Jake something. I've made some hot takes and gotten stuff wrong before. So I'm not going to, that's why I didn't talk about this story last week, because I had to read up on it, make sure I was getting the right thing. But you see these stories across the country, public employees, government employees, particularly the ones who are given the ability to act violently. Governments are given a monopoly on violence in that situation. They need to have a higher level of accountability than average citizens. A higher level, not a lower level. And what police unions do oftentimes is erase that accountability. They create so much bureaucratic entanglement that it becomes impossible to kick the bad guys out. To bad police officers, I keep saying bad guys, but men and women who are abusing their position. We need to have that. It's important. There are a couple of different ways that we can do this. One is the police accountability. So putting this in context of New York State, different towns that are looking at this mechanism are going to have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, if we do have a police accountability board, we have to remove those seats. It can't have disciplinary power on their own. Whatever disciplinary power is going to have to come through recommendations from these police accountability boards and then acted out by probably a police chief, right? And then that process, as of right now, will probably still have to go through whatever union is representing those police officers in that area. Again, that's going to be very frustrating to folks, but that's probably the only recourse right now. And my hope is that as these boards kind of continue to get more power, and I think they do need more than just the ability to take complaints. They do need subpoena power. They do need the ability to investigate certain high possibility cases, a high possibility of like a rights violation occurring. They do need to actually be able to investigate those. If they have that, they're able to do that, show all of their findings. You can't hide it in any way. And we have the new law in New York State where police disciplinary records are open to public scrutiny. And I know that's controversial too, but I think that's on net good. But open that all up and be able to see like what would actually happen here. Did the officer act inappropriately? Did they do the right thing? That is how you build community trust, by opening things up, not closing it down, keeping it secret, creating mistrust, and creating opportunities for people to speculate wildly about what actually happened. Because that's when things get a lot more dangerous. That's when you build that mistrust that makes it so people don't want to interact with the police, or people won't call the police even in situations where it actually makes sense. And that type of frustration, that anger builds up to actual anti-police sentiment. And that's what we can circumvent here by having another group do that. And when we come back, I'll talk a little bit more about one of my solutions to this. And I talk about this every time, folks, but I'm gonna keep talking about it until one of the New York State legislators start to take it up. So when we come back, I'll talk about solutions to keep police accountable, even outside of the Police Accountability Board. And I think I've made pretty clear I'm in favor of this. But if you have other solutions too, I want to hear from you. 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000 or 866-552-1009. We'll be back with more from A Free Solution in just a few minutes.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax. We would like to thank our Lord for protecting us from evil. Psalm 91 states, "He is my refuge and my fortress, for he will rescue us from every trap and protect us from deadly disease."
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys who specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results.
We are also a small firm who will treat you like family and not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
In John 8:36, so if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. And one way we can achieve that is by being debt-free. So let us help you today. Call us at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS tax debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today. Thank you so much for joining us. Glad you're able to listen here again live on WYSL until 1 p.m. or listening a little bit later in the day. WACK out in New York, WENI, the Patriot down south here. Appreciate you all listening here as well, and our friends listening online on the Free Solution Facebook pages, Free Solution on YouTube, or on the Kevin Wilson pages, wherever you're listening. Thanks for being here today. And again, we're talking about Police Accountability Board. Just the event was that the Rochester Police Accountability Board lost their appeals court case. They had lost their appeal in New York State Supreme Court, and now they no longer have the ability to discipline their officers. So what's next? How do you make sure that the bad police officers who are doing bad things to violate our rights? Because again, remember that police officers are the ones that enforce some of the laws that like we as conservatives and libertarians don't like too. The ones like gun laws, for instance, maybe the mask laws you're not a fan of. Remember, they enforce that stuff too. They enforce all those things, even if they don't like it. That's literally their job. And if they hurt someone in the process of enforcing those laws, whether the laws are good or bad, they hurt someone inappropriately, then yeah, they should maybe not be a police officer anymore, or face some sort of discipline, or face criminal charges, whatever it is. It's appropriate. Now, there is a sort of free market solution that I think could do something good for this, and I've talked about this before. This ain't going to be news to longtime listeners of this show, or longtime fans of our Tuesday host Larry Sharp, who's also talked about this. Is there's a way to make sure that police officers who are routinely subject to these types of complaints have another check on their ability to continue performing their job, is that they need to have professional liability insurance. Again, not new to longtime listeners, but if this is your first time hearing this, take a listen, because I think that this is something that would probably even work better than a police accountability board, which is subject to all sorts of other stuff. Is that just like doctors and other types of professionals, like contractors, who need to have professional liability insurance because, well, they could screw up on their job. Doctors can screw up in any number of ways. They have to have expensive insurance. Contractors can also screw up their job. If they're building your house, you want to make sure they're doing it right. And if they mess up, then someone needs to pay for that screw up, right? So contractors have to have that too. Lots of professions need to have professional liability insurance to do their job. Police officers do not. Now, what ends up happening when a police officer is successfully sued is they're not sued individually. What ends up happening is that you sue, and that's where qualified immunity comes in, right? You can't sue the officer individually. You sue the police department, or you sue the city. And then the city ends up paying the bill for this. And they have insurances to do that sort of thing, but it's a collective insurance, right? And oftentimes that settlement comes out of taxpayer money, or the insurance to do that comes out of taxpayer money. So people like me end up paying if a Rochester police officer screws up and hurts someone. I don't want to have to pay for that. I would rather that officer or the insurance company insuring that officer to pay for that instead. And the reason why I say that this is an ability to keep people more accountable is the insurance company, well, this ain't exactly a secret, guys. Any insurance company, no matter what product they're selling, they want to make money. They want to make a bunch of money. So they will take your money and kind of gamble that they're not going to end up spending a bunch of money before they make a profit off of you. That's the hope, right? So they will take whatever the premium is, and the hope is that collectively they're going to be paying less for that. Car insurance companies do that too. Now, if you are a driver and you get in a bunch of accidents, your insurance goes up. Eventually, if you get in enough accidents, even if your license isn't revoked by, the state, the insurance companies will say, we're not going to insure you anymore. We can't insure you. You're too expensive. You're going to have to go with someone else. And that same level of market accountability could happen to police officers too. If you require every police officer to carry professional liability insurance, this can even be partially funded by, unions too, assuming we keep unions around. I'll try not to be too aggressive in this, but assuming we keep unions around, they could even, pay for part of that. That's part of your union dues, is they pay for your professional liability insurance. But that insurance is tied to the individual officer, not the entire police department. Now, if that individual officer does nothing wrong, never gets complaints against them, or never gets found, guilty of violating someone's rights, they're a low risk. That insurance will be relatively cheap. Their premiums aren't going to go up because they're low risk. The insurance companies aren't paying out. Now, if the opposite happens, they get a ton of complaints, they have to do payouts, or they do stuff that is well, would certainly be illegal for us average Joes to do. Well, then the insurance company is going to say, well, this person's a risk. If we want to continue making money off of them, we're going to have to raise their premiums. It's going to get more expensive. So it'll be expensive for that police officer to continue carrying professional liability insurance. They're going to have to pay more out of pocket. Or maybe the unions do it. Well, if the unions do it too, and that officer starts becoming more expensive, they're going to put more pressure on them to get together. Or say, hey, man, we can't pay this anymore. You need to not violate anyone's rights, not get us any payouts, or we can't afford this insurance anymore. And eventually, it'll also come to a point where if you have enough violations, if you have enough payouts for your actions, that insurance company will say, you know what, not even worth it anymore. We can't insure this man or woman because they are too much of a risk. We are paying too much for this. So they drop them. They drop their coverage. That officer no longer is in compliance with their job. They can't work as a police officer anymore. That is a way for the market to hold police officers accountable for their actions. It's something we expect in many other professions, but police officers kind of get special treatment in that sense. And because they're public employees and because they have unions doing this, the advocacy on their behalf. That is a way for markets to hold people accountable. To say, we've looked at the data and we can't sell you this product anymore, and you need this product to continue doing their job. The insurance companies would probably love this system because they're going to make a bunch more money off of professional liability insurance. Good for them. I don't have a problem with people making profit off of this stuff. I don't care. Make your profit, whatever. And the public is going to like this because that is an extra check. We don't have to hope that a city council, mayor, police chief, all these groups subject to political forces are going to be holding police officers accountable for this stuff. You know, because let's be honest about it, folks. Even the most pro-police people out there have got to recognize that sometimes you get departments that are corrupt and that are allowing their officers to do bad things. This is another check. This is a market mechanism check on this. It's objective. The insurance companies aren't going to care about the politics of your region. They care about making money. That's it. And there is a certain beauty to that I like. It doesn't matter. They just want to know they can make a profit off of this. They don't care about what the officer's history is. They don't care about anti-police stuff. They're going to be pro-police because they want to make money off the police. They're not going to support defunding police departments because they want to keep making money off the insurance. This is a way for individual officers to be held accountable, not by, and I don't think this is the case in Rochester, not by politically charged chief of police, not by a politically charged civilian review board or police accountability board. This is a way for the market to work on our behalf. In fact, I'd love to see this everywhere. Everywhere we can get, I'm going to go on my libertarian chat. Anywhere we can get the markets to hold government officials accountable, to work on behalf of the people, that's a good thing. We should be doing it more. And for those of you who are inclined to this type of thing too, it would drive the left crazy. Oh, it would drive the left crazy to say, like, we're going to have more market mechanisms for keeping government officials accountable. It would be, it's going to be so fun to see them do that. So if that's the type of thing that drives you to, great. If you want to trigger the left, this is going to trigger the left too. Just a bonus, just a cherry on top for me. It's not what's important to me, but cherry on top for some of you, I know. So start talking to your legislators about this thing. I think this is an idea that could have legs if we workshop it a bit. Thanks again for joining us on A Free Solution. Thanks for joining us on our talk with about police accountability board stuff today. Larry Sharp will be in tomorrow on Tuesday. I'll be back on Wednesday. Talk to you then.